Welcome everyone to Unscripted Coding. Today I have pulled up Playwright, and what we're going to do is automate some of web browser interactions. And so what I'm trying to do today is to find a way to send mass private messages through Reddit. Now there are rate limits, there are lots of rules against just mass sending emails to say, hey, I'll work on your lawn for $10 an hour or whatever. But cold calling and cold messaging is a marketing tactic, and Reddit is really a great place to find potential customers and reach out to them. And so what we're trying to do here is we're trying to find a way to send out private messages. And one way of doing this is through Playwright, which automates browser interactions. And so it will automate the clicks, it will find the text, it'll send the text, blah, blah, blah. That's one method. If you're thinking that doesn't make a lot of sense because there is an API, that is also true. That is another way you could go about this. You can use the API, use the private messages. Let me zoom in a little bit here. Use the private messages and send, compose and send messages, of course. Now, the reason I'm avoiding this is because if you're mass marketing people, you probably don't want an API key. You probably don't want to do this as if you are sending it, the most efficient way possible. Playwright will simulate a browser. You can pretend you're a real person, mask that a little bit. Again, probably goes against the terms of service at Reddit. I can assure you I am doing it at just a test level and not planning to send out millions and millions of messages at once. But I thought this was an interesting project to go about anyways. Now, if you haven't picked this up, this is not going to be heavily AI reliant. I do have Perplexity on the side here so that can help me write a bit of code, and depending on how far we go, we might go into coding AI as well. But for the most part, this is the classic. This is more of a classic approach, more programming. So I have VS Code open. And one of the first things I'm going to do is also get command prompt set. So I'm going to activate my virtual environment. Oops, is it Venv? Oh, spelling mistake. And then pip install Playwright. So while that is running, I want to take a look because I think Playwright, you have to install a bit. You have to install a browser as well. So I don't know if I can just run this after the fact. Cool. I think you can. That is perfect. So download the right version of Chromium so it will run Chrome or Chromium in the background. It has a bunch of other things that's it's downloading Firefox too. So it might download a few browsers to get you started. Now we will also get started just with a test example here. And so once this is done running, we can save this and call it run.py. Perfect. So let's just run this really quickly, see how this looks. Perfect. Seems to run right through. Actually, this doesn't seem to run anything because it just defined two methods without running. Okay, so instead of putting you through all this, I am going to explain my general approach here. First of all, one of the nice things about Reddit is that it does support filling out forms partway through already. And so in this case, if you go reddit.com/message/compose, you can put the fields to subject and message. And so if I change this to hi to hello world and spell it correctly, of course, and I click enter, it should automatically fill these fields out already. Here's the hello world, here's a username, and in theory, I should be able to click send. Now, in this case, it does want me to check that I'm not a robot. I wonder if it'll keep asking every time. So that might present an issue. On my regular browser, it doesn't normally ask, but it might be because I am in a in private or a incognito mode. But in theory, I should be able to just put usernames, fill out the templated subject and message, and just keep opening new pages and clicking the send button. Now, the other thing I wanted to mention very quickly is that Reddit does have a rate limiter. So I think it's about 10 or 15 messages every 5 minutes or so. And you will find that there is an error there will be an error that you see. And so in this case, you have a whole bunch of errors that tells you have 3 minutes before you can send your next message, or 2 minutes. And so the idea is we will send a batch of these. As soon as we see the error, we stop. We have the program just wait 5 minutes and then just start all over again. And so that is a very simple way. One way I could do this is, sorry, I had to cut that for a second here. In short, what we're going to do is we have this ability to create the form. At some point, when we send 10 messages, let's say, an error will pop out, take a break for 3 minutes. We'll ask the program to take a couple minutes break, and then we continue sending. And so in theory, I have this to field, and I could just get a giant list of usernames. We could do this in all sorts of formats. So I might get links to different people's names. I might just get their usernames. I might get relevant posts and derive who the OP is, and basically find ways to create lots of these and send links. So I'm going to stop talking and start working. Okay, welcome back everyone. So now we have a working script. I am just gonna run this very quickly and show you how it works. Always goes to our next screen. So first of all, you're going to see it log in to an account, my account. There it closes and it's going to open another one. I could do better behavior here, but that's all right. It's going to take a moment to get to this, and then it's going to send. Now it went really quickly, but you can see that the subject is hi and hi hello. And we even have a new line just so that you can send multi-paragraph messages here. And in about 30 seconds or so, it's going to close this window. So how does this all work is we're using Playwright. We're going to import Playwright, and you saw how we installed it in the virtual environment and you had to have Chromium, albeit you can probably use Firefox or another engine as well. In the back, I of course have a file with my username and password. There's probably better ways of doing this, but we're going to run through a couple steps. Right at the bottom here, this is where we run things. We're going to run and create a browser in context. We're going to log in with Reddit. We're going to sleep a couple seconds. I probably don't need the whole 5 seconds here. And then we're going to go to a page. Now this generate URL is just a simple function. I think I'm going to put a lot more logic in here. But the idea is we're going to generate a number of those Reddit URLs that we're going to go into with the username, subject, and message. Now, where my mind is going with this is that we could use this to maybe go onto a page with a lot of usernames and scrape all the names and generate a bunch of these. We could potentially modify the functions later to just hit many users all at once, or many URLs all at once. Now I haven't figured out how I want to do this, and it really depends on how you're collecting usernames and how you're engaging with it. But I think AI could play a role in this, of going on Reddit, reading posts and seeing if it's relevant to what you're trying to market, and then getting their username, creating maybe even tailored subjects and messages for them. And then finally sending them, going to the page and clicking the send button. And finally, once everything is done, you close the browser and this is all done. Now, how this works is, first of all, this Playwright is a standard, grab it off the website type of code. First, you launch a browser, you create a new context, and in this case, I set a user agent to be like a Chrome regular user, whereas Playwright sometimes identifies itself as like a bot. Don't want that. The other thing you might want to consider is headerless. So in this case, I set headerless to false so that we see that browser pop-up. If you want to just run in the background with no pop-ups and no browser distracting you, you could set this to true and it just runs in the back end. Next, we have the Reddit login. So now we have a browser in context from the previous step. And I should probably zoom in a little further here. And so what we're going to do is open new pages. And in this case, we take the contacts, add a new page, we go to the Reddit login page, we fill in the username and the password, we wait a second for the login button to show itself up, click it, wait another second or two for it to fully log in, and then we close the page. Then finally, we have the sending page. So in this case, we have the browser in context again, but we have that fancy URL with things filled out already. Now in theory, we could just go to the compose page and fill it out like this instead. But why not? We learned something about URLs, so let's use it that way. We go to a new page, we go to the URL, everything's pre-filled. But here is where we ran into a bit of a snag when we were coding this. The whole page is within an iframe, and anything in an iframe is hard to detect immediately and just throws a wrench into the whole thing. So in knowing that we can't just go search for things in the page, we have to identify there's an iframe, we have to go into the iframe, and then we gotta find the send button within the iframe and click it. So in this case, we found the iframe using the class. We find the button within the iframe, and then we click the send button, and that sends it off. And then we wait for a timeout. Now in this case, we also check all of the text visible in the iframe, and we're going to see if that error that we identified earlier on that says, take a break for 3 minutes, shows up. Now I've seen this take a break message be 1 minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 4 minutes, 5 minutes, and so on. So we're looking at the looks like you've been doing that a lot instead. And if it does, we're just going to wait 5 minutes. And if it were up to me, I would put in random numbers here. Do randomize time just to make it a little less obvious that you're using a bot. And then after you wait, the 5 minutes, you click the button. And then in this case, I waited a bit more just so that you can see the page visible. But in theory, we really don't care here. So maybe just wait the 1 second afterwards, and then we close the page. So how I would do this, I think, is I would generate a list of URLs, let's say 10 of them. Then for each one in that list, I would go to the page and do this, and I would close the page each time. And then finally, when it's all done, close the browser. But like any browser, you could do this in all sorts of ways. You could pass a URL list right here and just go to the next page afterwards, and go to the next page, and go to the next page. Lots of ways you can do this. I would keep this the same here and go through a list instead. And once again, like, the generating the list is going to be the interesting part. I think you can do it. I think you could do it through AI, or you might have other mechanisms to gather usernames. Okay, I hope you learned something here. This was fun. It's been a while, and you saw that I was using Perplexity, or basically an AI chatbot, for a lot of help here. I've been doing too much JavaScript, and you could see even basic things like filling in the text here. I forgot how it was formatted in Python, and just asking AI to help me through it makes this all go a lot quicker than the old Google search. If you enjoyed this project, subscribe, try and catch me next week, and let me know. We're doing different things all the time. It's been heavy focus on AI, but once in a while I need something that is not AI related. So thanks for watching, and I hope to see you next week. Bye.